Alright guys, so this is going to be a recap for some of you guys who weren't in class when I did go through this. Um, I will be coming up with like a whole series. I'll try and make the tutorials short as possible. We would cover just the tools that we would need during these tutorials. So there will be a section where I would fast forward, but I'll give you all the details that you would need. Alright, so we'll just start off. Obviously guys, you'll open up Photoshop. You want to create a new project, so on the top left here, create a new project. And these are all the preset or the default customs or your most recent customs that you would have. On the top right, we just want to name our conventions accordingly. So since we are just going to just do a quick blockout tutorial of just sketches or just drawing the basics, and then we'll build it up from there. So we'll just name this blockout. Alright, so the width, this is something that you can custom design according to what you want, whatever resolution that you'll be working on. So if you're working on a screen, you might have 1080 by 720, or full HD is 1920 by 1080. It just depends on what you want. But since I'm having in mind that I would probably post these images on Instagram, and Instagram works on a square ratio, so I'll just say 1000 by 1000, and we'll just keep it as 8 pixels. That's all we'll need for now. The resolution, we can change that to 72. So if you are going to be working on the internet, it's safe to say that the resolution kept at 72 is perfectly fine. If you are going to be printing things out, you're looking at around 300 upwards from there. We'll keep the color mode as it is. We'll set the background color to white. If you wanted to change your color, you have that option. You can click on it, change your color. But we'll just keep this default setting as it is. We'll create a file, and it will load up. First thing that we're going to do, we're going to left click on the lock down there to unlock the level so we can actually edit it. We're going to double click on the text layer and want to name that BG, short for background. So I might re-edit that later on, but we'll just keep that as a starting point. So the first thing that I want to do is to create a layers. The method that I'm showing you, there's various methods that you can find, but I'm just going to go with the blockout method. I try to keep my workflow as neat as possible, so I would have a lot of layers, then I'll probably merge them down, rename them, so things are a bit more neater in this corner. That just makes your workflow a little bit easier, so you can just identify the layer that you want to work on, so you can re-edit it from there onwards. So we want to go to the bottom tab, we want to create a new layer. So I'm probably going to create 3 layers just to start off with. I'll just name this one blockout. OT blockout. I'll name the middle layer, maybe I'll name that shadow, because I want to add some shadows later on, but this is still just the basic, but just keep my work a little bit neat. And the last one, I'll name that highlight. Yeah, you can name it short, because I try to keep it as short so the name is not that long. So if you want, I can just name it HL. S and blockout for now. Later on, when you do have more layers, you'll probably need to name that a little bit more clearer, so you can see what you're doing. Alright, so we're gonna make sure that the blockout layer is selected. I am going to be using a mouse during these tutorials because I know a lot of you guys don't have a graphics tablet, so the methods that I'll use would be more tailored to people who don't have graphics tablets. You can still use a graphics tablet, which is perfectly fine. Obviously, that'll make your life a little bit easier. But just because of the situation that we have right now, I'll just use a mouse. That just means that you have to use different kinds of tools. You might not have the control that you want to begin with, like tilt, or even just your pressure sensitivities and so on and so forth. You won't have that with your mouse. But since this is still the beginning stages, you wouldn't really see that as yet. So yeah, we'll just start off with that. So I want you guys to, before you even do anything, I need you guys to go onto the internet, spend a good 10 to 15 minutes looking for your reference material, your resource materials, so you can build that visual library and just save your work. It saves you a lot of time when you're designing from reference image, opposed to just designing straight from your head. So we are gonna go, or I'm looking for like a simple environment, probably like a lighthouse, something similar. So I'll be looking at different references that I'll find more appealing. Once you find it, all you need to do is, obviously you want to save it into a place that um, you can locate it later on. So obviously create whatever files, and I'll just save that into that. It'll import. Whilst you're here, you might as well look at your inspiration. So you have your reference material, which is the actual objects. I like to also base it on some inspiration. So I'm inspired by Pascal Blanche. I like his use of color palette. This is just your own personal preference. This is just my I don't always use him as a reference source. I might vary it up. It might be different things. But at this stage, it kind of gives me more, for this tutorial, it gives me a more tailored approach, so I can understand what direction I'll be heading towards. Alright, so we'll open up Photoshop again. Alright, so with the reference material, what I always like to do is just create a new layer right at the top, so I can make it visible and hide it. As I go, then I'll probably later on delete that. So I'll just name that as ref. I'll click on this house icon here. I want to open, click on open. Find your files. So where did was it downloads? No. Alright, you guys will find your work, it'll upload. Just because I don't want to go through my computer, because I'm not sure what images will be visible or what documents which are sensitive will be visible. What I'll just do is copy and paste it for now. So I'll just go onto the internet, I'll copy it, go back onto Photoshop, and I'll say Control V, and I'll paste the image in there. So it doesn't have to be one image, you can have a group, but just for a starting point, I think I'll leave that. Actually, no, let me find probably another 3 more images, probably something which is a little bit different as well. So I'll probably take that as well, just to see. Go back into Photoshop, Control V, so I'll name that Ref2, and I'll still just get my inspiration, so I can also know that my inspired artist, I'll have that in mind. So oh, maybe even, what was that? It's his lighthouse. I actually didn't even know. I didn't see this work before, but I was like, oh, that's actually a cool reference material. So I just save that as well. Control V. So I have Ref2, Ref3. I mean. So I have my 3 reference. So I'll put this all into one group. So I'll shift select. So I'll shift select each layer. So I'll hold on shift and I'll select the layer that I want to activate. You can also do that opposite. So instead of selecting it, I can deselect by clicking on Command or Control to deselect it. But if I select the first one, hold on Shift, I can literally select the bottom and it will select all those layers in a row. So I want to go onto this bottom file, looks like an envelope, a folder, and that's to create a new group. Name that reference, so we just double click on it, reference group, so I can turn this on and off as I want. Alright, so what we want to do with whilst you have selected the blockout layer, I always want to start off with a grayscale to begin with, and make sure you have you can choose the brush that you like. I usually just go for a hard brush. I do have some custom brushes which I actually do like. So if you guys do have custom brushes that you prefer, which is more hard, solid edges, that's something that I would advise you also go and do. Alright, so I'll click on B, so it'll be on brush mode. If you want to select your brush there, you can also see that you can actually activate your brush tool by clicking on that. So I was on erase mode, so that brush which I did select was actually a brush for the eraser. But since this is what I want to work with, this is a good start. Alright, so at this stage, Control Z to undo. You have your history tab at the top where you can just literally click on the last thing that you did. But Control Z does save you a lot of time because it makes your workflow much more efficient and fast. So at this point, all you want to do is just block out the outline of what you want to achieve. So I know I'm going to create like a lighthouse. So I'm just quickly creating like the rock formation. Ideally, you'd want your opacity at the top to be 100%, so it's not opaque in any way. So I'm just quickly roughing it out. But even if you do make a mistake at this stage, it doesn't matter because you are just creating a rough outline. So yeah, I'm just gonna speed up. Once I've done with that, I'll go on to my shadows. Then I'll just think of where the light is coming from. So I might have the light source coming from this direction. Then when I'm adding my shadows, I know that I'll cast most of these sides will be dark. Then when I have my highlights, when I go into the highlights, I know that the light will be casting off from this side. Alright, so I'm gonna speed up the video at this point, but this is what you guys can get on with for the time being.